It's Local Edition. Brad Pomerance here, coming to you from San Diego County, joined by Phil Graham. He is a candidate for the City Council in Encinitas. And I want to speak with you about the power of cities and city councils. When you think about it, cities are inside counties, which are inside states, which are inside nations. Mm-hmm. And so there are a lot of levels above city. Mm-hmm. And I want to get a sense from you as you're running for city council. How do you, as a city council, interact with those various levels and maintain enough control, but then cede control when appropriate?
I think it comes down to relationships and transparency. Mm-hmm. Like far too often, I've seen in our city where we have not had a good relationship with different, maybe county groups, let's say San Diego or other ones.
Right.
And all that does is causes issues down the road that are unnecessary. And it sometimes leads to lawsuits.
Sure.
There's a loss of money.
And San Diego, of course, is the Association of Governments.
Correct.
Which represents, is it the 17 cities as well as the county?
And so I'm been honored to be endorsed by both Supervisor Greg Cox and Ron Roberts. Mm-hmm. And so I have a good relationship with a lot of people. And hopefully when Kristen Gaspar becomes supervisor, that'll increase that relationship
and
too.
She's from your city.
She is. She's currently the mayor of
Encinitas. Right.
And she's supported me, and she's encouraged me to run for office, and she's helping me supporting me on my campaign.
And it's interesting you mentioned her, because what's going on in Encinitas, there's a lot of musical chairs going on, because Ms. Gaspar's moving on. Mm-hmm. So there are 3 seats up, 2 incumbents running, 3 challengers. Also, the mayor's seat is up, and there are 2 challengers, and one of the challengers is Kristen Gaspar's husband.
That's right.
So there's a lot of musical chairs, and my question based upon that is why you're running for city council. What was your thinking behind it?
Well, it's really, why do you run for office?
And
that is the most important question you can ask anybody. And it has to be something that is selfless, that you really want to solve problems and give back to your community. So I think I've got a decent, better than decent years of experience in business.
No, you're not so bad.
Well, I feel like I can bring a lot to the table.
Yeah.
I love my city. I've been there for 12 years. I've lived in 4 of the 5 communities in Encinitas. I'm a San Diego native. I've got an extensive, diverse background in business, and it comes back to giving back.
That being said, there are a lot of ways to give back. You're a busy guy. You teach. You're a businessman. What is it about city council that's appealing? And I'm saying that in the best of sense, because I mean you're on the ground. If you're in Sacramento, I know you would consider Sacramento important work, but you're 500 miles away. Right. So there's something about city councils that can be appealing.
The best part about it, honestly, is you really get to the root cause, and you get to meet people every single day where the decisions you make directly affect them. Right. Sacramento, sometimes when you deal with the state legislature, doesn't work that way. So I know the individuals on different streets in my town. I know what issues.
Literally.
Right. And, they'll say, what about that stop sign down there? And I'll know exactly what they're talking about. So it is as close to personal interaction in politics as you can get.
I mean, for the best and for the worst. I mean, if you're in the supermarket, you're the city council member. If you're the assembly member, but...
that's a good point. These are the kind of things that you have to understand before you put your hat in the ring.
Right.
There are positives, there are a lot of negatives.
Of course.
And you have to just understand those.
So I want to dig a little deeper, if we can, onto the issue of local control. I'm always compelled when I think about the division between city, county, state, and federal. A few years ago, there was this big push to devolve control as it relates to education. And what we saw was the local control funding formula. So now the categoricals that school districts had to deal with, those are gone, and there can be more local control. And a lot of applause about that. Then there was local control sent down as it relates to low-level offenders, prisoners. Not so much applause, because that put a lot of pressure on counties.
Absolutely.
But now when we look at the city, there's the question of housing and land use. And it really brings up a lot of frustration, because there's a lot of regulation. Governor Brown's looked at trying to ease that regulation, but if he eases the regulation, he's also trying to strip some local control.
Right. Well, I'll give you an example that's similar to that, and then I'll get to local control of housing.
Please.
The governor has decided that the entire state is going to be treated the same when it comes to water. and our water resources. And so what he did was he told all the water different districts in California, you cannot sell the water that you have if you have it, okay? So in some areas, it wasn't an issue. They didn't have the water to sell. In San Diego's case, San Diego County has done an extraordinary job over the last 20 years managing their water resources, from reclamation to desal.
Yeah.
And what happened was Jerry Brown said, I don't care if you have water, you can't sell the water that you have. So what that means is that the local districts they still have bills to pay. So they were forced to raise their prices in water. We all pay more for water, and there's no benefit whatsoever.
Along those lines, and you bring up a valid point, when we saw the mandatory restrictions that were imposed to conserve water, it wasn't one size fits all. There was a sliding scale from 4 to 36%. But the problem was in communities like, let's say, San Diego, that have been doing a good job conserving, they already were down from 2013 levels.
Exactly.
And so the one size fits all to some really didn't.
Well, I don't like the fact that our citizens have to pay an extraordinary amount more than they should for water when we've already done a good job of investing in water resources.
So talk to me, though, about the local control element of housing, because that really, I mean, when you talk about city councils, that's where the rubber meets the road.
So this is a very contentious issue in Encinitas, and I think throughout California. And what it is, it's a state law, obviously signed by the governor, that says you will have a certain density bonus in your density percentage in your city. Problem is we are not the same as every other city. And in fact, we're pretty much built out in Encinitas. There's not a whole lot of places to build.
No infill.
So we're still forced to abide by those regulations, by those state laws, and it causes a lot of strife at the city council level. People are really upset. And so right now, there is a proposition or a measure coming through, Prop T, that really no one's really happy with. And I've had to come out publicly and say, I don't like it because it's really shoving down our throats Sacramento's vision of what we should be, and rather than having state control, rather than having local control. But if we do not pass this, we get lawsuits and we can't get grants, and we're not in adherence with the law.
Right.
So I had to look at the whole thing holistically. I know there's some of this plan's bad. We can change it down the road, I believe. But most importantly, if by doing this, by passing this measure, we will be in compliance with state law, and we'll be able to get more grants for different infrastructure projects.
And as I understand it, sir, what Measure T does, it doesn't mandate that there be low-income housing, for example. It creates a zoning environment that if the market is willing to accept low-income housing.
Well, guess what? I actually live in an apartment building that was built for low-income housing. It's not low income. The demand is there. People want to live in Encinitas, and the prices will go up because of it. It is purely supply and demand. Even if you put in small little apartments in places, they'll still be expensive because it's a very desirable place to live. I think an alternative, if I could wave a magic wand, would be to have the whole region share in those resources and say maybe, or in the law, in the sense that Encinitas may not have any places for low-income housing. Maybe Vista will. So we horse trade with these different cities, and so we
kind of like cap and trade a little bit. Well, if I can use that metaphor, not a good one, but I can give it a shot.
That's your metaphor, not
mine.
Exactly,
well stated.
But I mean, I think we're all sitting here doing our own things. Well, if we all work together, I think we could solve the problem. But right now, the way it is, it basically causes neighbors to be fighting against each other, and it's really unfortunate.
His name is Phil Graham. He is a candidate for the Encinitas City Council. That election, of course, will be held on November 8th. Lots on the ballot. Exciting issues that are being presented to Encinitas and San Diego County generally. My name is Brad Pomerance. We're coming to you from San Diego County. You're watching Local.